Mr. President,
The Majority Leader.
I have good news. Last night, the Senate reached an agreement to pass a clean extension of government funding to avert a needless shutdown and give appropriators more time to finish their work. We expect to begin voting at 12:30 on 2 Republican amendments and then to final passage. Getting here wasn't easy. My colleagues and I worked late into the evening, negotiating with the other side on amendments and on timing. But after a lot of hard work and compromise from both sides of the aisle, the Senate will pass the CR today, giving the House enough time to act before Friday's deadline. Once the Senate acts, I urge the House to move on the CR as soon as possible so we can send it to the President's desk as early as today. In order to give our House colleagues time to act, I ask that Senators vote quickly once votes are called later this morning. Again, if we can send something to the President's desk today, that would be great. Once we put the threat of a shutdown behind us, I hope we continue seeing even more bipartisanship as appropriators complete the very important task of fully funding the government in coming weeks. I thank my Senate colleagues for working together to ensure the government stays open. Avoiding a shutdown is very good news for the country, for our veterans, for parents and children, and for farmers and small businesses, all of whom would have felt the sting had the government shut down. And this is what the American people want to see: both sides working together and governing responsibly. No chaos, no spectacle, no shutdown. But amazingly, not everyone in Congress feels that way. As we speak, there's still a loud contingent of hard-right rabble-rousers who amazingly believe that causing a shutdown is somehow a good thing, if it gets them what they want. The MAGA hard right thinks it's perfectly fine to have VA offices closed or to endanger nutrition programs that help 7 million moms or kids, or suspend disaster aid for farmers. In the twisted logic of the hard right, the theory is if enough people feel the pain of a shutdown, the hard right can bully the rest of Congress into enacting their deeply unpopular agenda. Bullying, intimidation, chaos. This is MAGA extremism in a nutshell. But here's the thing. The fact that we're passing a CR today shows yet again that this kind of bullying almost never works. The hard right's bullying didn't work when we avoided default. It didn't work when we avoided shutdown last year, and it didn't work today either. I thank my colleagues for their good work, and I expect a strong bipartisan vote later this afternoon. Now on the supplemental. Senate and White House negotiators are getting closer to reaching a bipartisan agreement on a national security supplemental. For the first time, I believe the odds are a little better than 50% that we can get something done. But certainly it's not a done deal yet. We have a number of disagreements we are still working through on issues as complex as immigration and national security. What matters is not just what we do, but how we do it. The smallest details matter immensely, and it takes time to work through those details. Nevertheless, talks are trending in the right direction, and I remain optimistic we'll get it done soon here in the Senate. And the good news is, once Congress avoids a shutdown, it is my goal for the Senate to move forward to the National Security Supplemental as soon as possible. Now, yesterday, I joined with congressional colleagues for a meeting with President Biden at the White House to talk about the latest on supplemental negotiations. It was a respectful, positive, and constructive meeting, and everyone walked out with a sense we need to get something done. While both parties have plenty of disagreements, all sides did agree on a couple of important points. First, congressional leaders understood that we need to pass additional emergency aid for Ukraine. Again, both sides might disagree on a lot of things, but on Ukraine, everyone agreed that we must act. I made it very clear in the room that right now the war in Ukraine is beginning to turn against Ukrainians. While Ukrainian fighters have no shortage of courage and resolve, they will soon face a shortage of supplies, of ammunition, of armaments that America provided to a large extent. If we don't pass another round of aid, then a mere month from now, the situation could become dire for Ukraine. And a year from now, America and NATO will be on our back foot, paying a far higher cost to ensure Putin does not sink his tentacles deeper into the European continent. Second, everyone agreed that we need to do something to fix the situation at the border. The President said over and over again he's willing to work with Republicans on the border. But it has to be bipartisan, as Republican leadership knows. You cannot do things with one party in a divided Congress. Anyone who says it's my way or the highway on border is not serious about reaching an agreement. It must be bipartisan. So, we feel good and remain hopeful about the direction of the talks, but I caution my colleagues that nothing has been finalized yet. There's still more work to do, but we're going to stay the course. Our national security demands nothing less. Our friends in Ukraine demand nothing less. The future of Western democracy demands nothing less.